It's Geekazine special coverage of BlogWorld New Media Expo, Voices of New Media, and it's brought to you by the folks over at Stitcher, smart radio for your smart mobile device. All right, continuing coverage of BlogWorld New Media Expo, Voices of New Media. This is Jeffrey Powers with Geekazine.com and Stitcher.com, smart radio for your smartphone. We're here with John Chambers of the 1 Minute Tip. You also have some other podcasts out there.
I do a couple of other, but they're all based on the same short show format. So iPad podcast,
Okay.
and then I also do iCloud podcast. I do Skype podcast and Google Voice podcast. Then I also do some video casts to teach different types of software training, which are kind of in hiatus right now. So, but
in hiatus,
when I get around to doing videos, always take longer, as you would know, than audio. There's just more editing and more time involved. But that would be Photoshop Wednesdays and Dreamweaver Thursdays.
Okay. So tell me, we'll go back to the 1 minute tip. Basically, it's 1 minute or just a little bit more than 1 minute.
One day I might actually do a show that's only a minute long, but I've yet to be able to do that. But it doesn't roll off the tongue a 3.7 minute tip. You know, it just.
do you script the whole thing, or do you read it off the cuff?
No, it's just completely off the cuff. And it's funny because you talk to people who do an hour-long show, and they do all these. We're not going to do any editing. We're gonna do an hour-long show, and it's just going to go out just the way we do it. Yeah. Now, it takes me an hour long to do a show that's only a minute long because I have to do the edit. Because I want it to sound like a continuous train of thought, because it's not, because you're going through steps and, this pull-down menu and click on, and you have to double-check and make sure you're, actually correct and accurate. So it's always funny. It's like, wow, I spent an hour, and what I got out of it was about a minute and a half worth of content, but it's tight.
And you got 58 minutes and 30 seconds left that you can just you can put in other stuff.
For filler, right? Absolutely, right. Absolutely.
It's like a blooper reel or something like that.
Wow, I have a lot. Yeah, that would be months of that.
So in the normal day of 1 minute tip, what was the most challenging of your 1 minute tips? Something off the top of your head you can think of?
Oh wow. I think it was this was a long time ago, when I interviewed my son when the iPad Shuffle first came out. Okay. And he had a lisp, and he was only, I think he was only like 4 years old, and he liked this little iPod, and he wanted to talk about it, and he just rattled on and on and on. It's like, well, you hate to edit your child, and he couldn't really hear me, so I had to kind of cut him down and make him sound logical. Then I had to go back in and re-ask the question, because I wasn't loud enough because of the way I mic'd him, because I'm not a two-mic setup. It's a one-man show. Yeah. So it was really interesting to sit back and listen to it and go, wow, it sounds like we were having this conversation, where we really weren't. It was not. It's like, and he was, making mistakes and having a good time. And people to this day still say, wow, he really liked that thing, but we had to listen to it twice to understand what he was trying to say, But so he's doing better now. He's
is he doing his own podcast yet, or?
No. He's thinking about doing something for Minecraft.
Oh, okay.
He loves that game, so he wants to do something like that. Sure.
A little play while you go and say, I like this level, or I just shot down this one person. Die. So, I don't know.
He's a strategy guy.
Oh, yes?
He doesn't want to kill anything. He plays all the games that the older kids play, but it's not about shooting them up and killing. It's about strategy, building the fortress so they can't get in. It's really interesting. He plays the game very different than everybody else wants to shoot them up. See how many people they can kill? Yeah. He's all about protecting and cordoning off areas and stuff. Very interesting. So I'm curious to see how that's going to go.
And if he translates that to make people think, well, there's more than just, bang, bang, you're dead type stuff, then I think a lot of people would get into that big time.
Yeah, less blood and guts and more about, keeping people out of your area and, the zombies. And I don't play the game, so.
Well, I just gave you some more work. So good job.
I got another show.
Yeah, there you go. Out of the 1 minute tips, is there like a most downloaded 1 minute tip? Something that people just have gotten and listened to again and again? Or?
Oh, I'd have to go back because I've been putting them out since 2001. Actually, before it was called podcasting, it was still called audio blogging at the time. So yeah, that's a good.
Oh yeah, that's right. He's one of the originals. Seriously. He is one of the originals.
When I started, it wasn't called podcasting at that point. So, and well, you know the story. Everybody was giving me that time because Adam Curry and Dave Weiner said that a podcast is 20 minutes long, because that's how long you walk at the park and that's how long you work out. So 20 minutes is the number. Yeah. And then it went to 30, and then went to 40, and then people were doing an hour. I'm like, you know what? I don't have time for this. I mean, I want to get in, I want to find out what I need to know, and I want to get out.
But you're already doing an hour to make a minute show, right?
But that's the hidden parts. That's the Easter egg. No one knows how to get to that. So but yeah, and then so I started doing 1 minute. Everybody's like, no one's going to invest the time in 1 minute. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, it's 20 minutes. That's what a podcast is. So I started doing this, and I got tons and tons of downloads, and all of a sudden now there's this whole short show format thing that happens in podcasting. You know, 1 minute Russian, 1 minute this, 1 minute that. It's all over the place, and it's really interesting to think that I was the first one to say, I'm going to do a short show, and everybody else goes, nah, they're 20 minutes, you know? So it's kind of nice to think in some ways that I kind of set the bar for that short show.
Of that
yeah, it's kind of fun. I got something. It's fun.
I kind of lost my train of thought there. As
the most downloaded show.
Most downloaded show, yeah. And that's the whole part of this. And you know, the one thing that I love, and not to really, but so it's all about Stitcher, which is a great program here. What I like about Stitcher is the short shows really get a lot of play. And your 1 minute tip is on Stitcher, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I believe so. Yep.
And you've got some other shows that are going to be coming on Stitcher very shortly.
Yes, I'd hope so. That'd be great. And after this, maybe for sure.
But my question is, because with iTunes, it was always you would download, or you'd say this is the show, but you'd have to be spot on every single day to download the new episode and then listen to the new episode, or else iTunes would start stopping the show. Right. As a listener.
Yes.
So with something like Stitcher, has it really increased your numbers there?
Well, it's being like radio. It's kind of nice because they automatically insert. Don't they automatically insert the show into a listing of other shows?
Yeah. Well,
right?
you create your list and then you listen to the list.
Right. You know what? To tell you honest truth, I really haven't noticed the numbers. I'm not looking at who's downloading from where, so sorry about that.
You just get a lot of numbers on that side. No, that's okay. I mean, I'm a stats junkie. I watch my stats every single day. It's like, ooh, I got one more. Ooh, I got another more. Yay, I got another one. So
my favorite part is going and seeing where they're coming from. So, you know, because I do a lot of 1 minute tips for other people. Oh, okay. So I go on to their show and I'll say, like for Adam, I do the MacCast 1 minute tip. Okay. And it's just a short little segment, and it's something that would help support their show and something they can add to make the show a little longer. And it's always interesting to see the referrals that come back from those shows. So you can say, oh, well, they played that segment or they played that segment. And that's always a lot of fun. So in the way of stats, that's what I like to see is where's everybody coming from? How do they find out about me?
So and that works too. I mean, I see it on my regular blog where everything comes from, and it's amazing. Yeah. I've got fans in Guam. I don't know where they came from, but you know, I'm glad they're there.
Yeah, so. I get people. I have to look up some places. I don't even know where those places are on the planet. And then I'm speaking English, so it's like they must be absorbing the show because there's sure a lot of downloads.
Yeah, that's
and it's weird to think that, you know, someone who publishes a book and they sell 5,000 copies of a book, you know, where I work as I'm a professor at a university, it's like, you know, that's a really good thing. You know, it's like, we're going to be published. It's all about being published, you know. It's like, well, but I publish too, but mine is an electronic worldwide. I mean, I've got people from all over the planet, millions and millions of downloads of people listening to these shows. It's like, could you convert that into books? I've sold 1 million books, or maybe they're chapters of books. It's like, and the numbers are just astronomical when you sit down and think about it. It's like, wow, here's this person sitting at their computer doing the show, and millions of people, you know, like a gold record or a platinum record, are listening to your shows. I mean, does it ever scare you to think about that many people? It's like let's go to a football game. There's 70,000 people sitting there, and you look around and you say, wow, this is like a percentage of my audience. and you're like, wow, that's a lot or people. I mean, it's like the numbers are just out there, just crazy.
Yeah, I never thought of it that way. It's like, now I'm going to have to go to a football game. Or concert, yeah. You know, it's like, I like Phil Collins and Kenny G. And wait, what?
So you can pull them in too.
So 1 minute tip, where do people go to get more information? Well, besides Stitcher, of course, but where do people go to get 1 minute tip?
1minutetip.com. Make it real easy.
All right. And what about your other podcasts?
iPad podcast, Skype podcast, Google Voice podcast. There was one more in there, and iCloud podcast.
All right.
They all ended .com.
.com. Gotta love that. So, all right. Well, John, thank you very much.
Great talking with you.
Yeah, definitely. For the Voices in New Media, this is Jeffrey Powers at BlogWorld 2011 in Los Angeles. We'll have a lot more, so stick around for the Voices in New Media.